So hi everyone. So we are Audrey, Ning, and Xuan, and we are here from Inner Friend, and we would like to share with you a little bit more about Inner Friend and how we came about. So, and also maybe a little bit about how we came into this inner work. So maybe we can go around and just to share a bit about Inner Friend and yeah. Ning, would you like to start or would you like to share anything?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Ning. I'm one third of the Inner Friend team. So I think in my day I have a day job. So in my day job I'm doing HR. So I think it's a very people related business, and it's something that I'm always very passionate about, like helping others and trying to get trying to help them to maximize their potential. And I think it's similar to what we do here in Inner Friend as well. So really thinking about going a little deeper, thinking about reflecting about why we exist actually, reflecting about our journey along the way, and hopefully like sharing some stories that will be helpful to you as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Audrey, and in the day I'm a marketer in a tech company, so dealing with like data and uh like bring more awareness to the company's software. Then at Inner Friend, I do marketing too. And what is Inner Friend? I think to me, Inner Friend is a space that we come together to create for people to understand more about themselves, especially their inner world, their thoughts, as well as their emotions. Because sometimes, like in our daily life, um, when we have certain questions or we face certain problems, we might not have the answer to it. But through, at least so far for myself, at least through doing like inner work, be it meditation or coaching, I realized that I found a lot of answers through all these channels. So it helps in terms of like being self-aware and being more reflective to solve the problems.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Um, yeah, so for me, Inner Friend is something that we came together in 2021 to start together because all three of us connected on the inner work. We have been through our own journeys, which we can share more about in the future. And yeah, and we really connected on this, and we do want to provide a space or to create a place where people can come to explore more of your own world, more of your own, perhaps your motivations, your thoughts, your emotions. A lot of these softer aspects, which are usually not touched on, in your daily life. And when we need to achieve, when we need to work and produce results in, be it our workplace or even in our families, usually there's quite a lot of things that we need to deliver and different kind of responsibilities that we hold. Yet in the background, there could be also some of these kind of thoughts or different feelings or certain kind of things that's inside us that needs or wants to be explored. And if we have the space or the chance to explore it, it could give us uh, a lot more answers, a lot more inspirations also on how to take the next steps forward and how to make it better.
Why are we called Inner Friend? Yeah. So we can explain like why are we called Inner Friend? How did the name come about?
Mm.
Yeah.
But I need some time to think about that because we actually explored a lot, right? We actually thought of a lot of different names. I think we spent like what 1 to 2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember back then, Audrey came up with the Inner Friend name, and and yeah, it was through a lot of exploration of what could bring out the essence of this of this work. And so it's like, making friends with your inner self, uh, knowing your own inner, being friends with your own inner world as well as with other people's inner worlds. So that's why we call it Inner Friend.
Mm. Then I suppose through this journey, we hope to be a friend to you as well, our dear listeners. Yeah. So I think a friend is somebody who's like very like intimate, right? Very close to you, doesn't judge you, and will support you along the way. So I think we should always be a friend to ourselves and to others. To be a friend to ourselves, and we hope that we can also be a friend to you. Yeah. So I think we'll be covering a couple of things. We'll be talking a little bit about purpose, what our individual purposes are, and we'll be doing it in a very interesting manner. So I think we each have prepared some questions on to ask each other actually, and then none of us actually know what each other has prepared, so it's gonna be a surprise to us, and we're just gonna be like free flowing lah. So yeah, somebody can start the ball rolling. Maybe any simple questions. The first question should always be like lighthearted.
How do you get started on this journey of inner work?
Lishan, what is your story?
Oh. I feel I got started on this journey when after I graduated from university. So throughout my study life, I was very driven. So I was always trying to work on my grades, as well as different clubs and societies. And back then, my purpose was really to grow and to develop and to learn different things, be it academically as well as non-academically, in terms of friendships, relationships, leadership, getting exposed to what is there in the world and things like that. So there was a lot of learning in that first part of my life. And after I graduated and I entered the workforce, things were going well. So I was doing well in my work. But I started to feel this sense of emptiness inside. I don't know if you guys felt it as well. So the sense of emptiness that I can do my work, I have the skills, but there is something missing about life, and I couldn't quite figure that out. So this sense of emptiness grew, like it didn't really go away, and it grew. And I started feeling things like maybe my life is not exactly on the right track. Like there's something I'm not seeing here. There's something I'm not knowing. And so that got me very curious and in a way desperate also to go into the inner work area and to learn about it. So when I went for a preview session by one of the organizations that provided for inner work at that time, I felt like inside me, it felt like it is time. It is time to take a deep dive and take a look at it. And that started the whole journey. There's been many aspects of the journey since then, but it really started that journey. And I am very happy that I stepped on to that journey and to know my inner self. And I managed to find more of what is inside that void. And I realized the void is not really a void. As in there is actually a lot of things underneath. It's just that at that time I couldn't access it. So I spoke to one of someone who is more senior in this field recently, and he told me one thing which really struck me. He said the emptiness was a door. It was your door to knowing yourself. And I was like, oh, I never saw it that way. And that was a very, very interesting perspective. And I really appreciate that. And now I realized that even though the emptiness was uncomfortable, it was actually a door for a deeper discovery and a lot more that came after that. So that's what got me started. Yeah, kind of.
I guess something must be like painful enough for you to like take action. So I suppose the emptiness was something that was like overwhelming to you, or it was something that you really wanted to like eradicate. And that's why you actually stepped into the door, right? I suppose everyone has this door in their lives. It's just whether they feel like they want to enter it. It's like the matrix, right? It's like take the red pill or the blue pill. Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you started on your inner work journey?
I think for me, I think it's like kind of similar, actually pretty similar. I really related to when you mentioned about the emptiness thing. So it has always been like this thing that I felt since I was young. When I tried to express it, like nobody really like could give me a proper answer, or that they didn't really relate to that as well. So and there was always this like fixed thing, maybe in the Singapore society as well. There's always this fixed thing that we're supposed to do, supposed to go to school, supposed to graduate, supposed to BTO, supposed to find a job, supposed to, it's like a track, it's like a life, it's like a linear path. But then the thing is that I felt that like, but why at every stage, like why is it that we have to do it this way? Why not something else? And who said that this is the best way? So I think as a kid, I always had a lot of whys lah. Maybe not so much introspectively for me, but a lot of external like questions. It's like questioning, like, why does the fan work this way? Why, why? So like a lot of like question marks in my head lah. And I suppose that these questions also led me to think about, like, why do I exist? So I think it's a lot of existential things happening. So why do I exist? Is human life supposed to have a meaning? Can we survive without meaning? Is it okay to live in a chill way forever? So I had all these kind of thoughts lah. And I think my journey also started really, I think when I was in university. So that's a couple of years back. And yeah, like Li Xuan, I also joined like an organization where I learned a lot about myself, and actually I really dug a lot deeper. I think as a kid I was very optimistic, positive, but maybe not necessarily deep in understanding my other emotions, like my fears or my sadness. So I think after gaining access to these emotions, I realized that life is a lot richer. So you can feel happiness while also feeling like a tinge of sadness. So the kind of bittersweet makes life a lot more vivid, I think. Yeah, so that's how I started on my inner work journey. And I think it's not really about like becoming happier or finding more meaning. To me, it's personally about like at every moment in time life becomes more vivid. Like I cry more easily, but it's also because I'm touched by something deeper. But it also means that I can feel happiness a lot deeper as well. Yeah, so that's a bit of myself. And I think back to Audrey, maybe you can share, since you are the one who asked the question as well.
Why I got started? Because I faced a quarter life crisis when I was 21, when I was starting. At the point in time, I was doing math and econs. I started questioning, what should I do with this degree? But at a point in time, I felt like, yeah, life is a bit boring. I'm not sure what I wanted to do. So I started to think about what's the meaning of my life and what's the purpose of living. Then I tried to find answers through reading. So I read quite a fair bit of books on purpose, passion. Then I also asked my parents and friends, what's the meaning of life? So after like reading the books and after asking my parents and teachers, I realized that okay, so the book say that, oh, find your passion. So I'm thinking, how does a 21-year-old know how to find her passion? Yeah, it's difficult to find. So there's no answer from the books. Then I asked my parents and teacher. It seems like they don't really care about this question. Yeah. So I think after thinking about this question for like 1 to 2 years, I felt very sad. I'm thinking like, is this the end of life? So I become kind of like sad. So somehow I tried different activities like traveling, uh like talking with different people, like from different background, to try and understand their perspective. Eventually I stumbled upon like inner work. Like, so I went for a life coaching program. Through that program, I learned a lot about myself. So I kind of understand, oh, okay, like what is the real problem that I'm facing? And the existential crisis is just a symptom that is surfacing that kind of like force me to look deeper at what do I want out of life, instead of just going through the motion, just get a degree, find a good job, settle down and get married. So that got me really that got me thinking about like life more, and finding and working towards a life that I want to live, rather than what is what I'm supposed to live according to society expectation, according to my parents' expectation. So because of this, right, then because of all this inner work, self-reflection, I got a lot of answers. I started taking actions. I felt that my life really changed. Like things changed around me. I started becoming happier. So in the past, I feel that I'm a bit too robotic. Like don't have much emotions. It's just like thinking. I just think a lot. Yeah, trying to find answers externally through books, through talking to people. Yeah, but even with all these so-called answers from other, I couldn't really reconcile and understand what do I truly want in life. Yeah. So because of inner work, uh, my life become richer, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I stumbled upon like inner work. Yeah.
Actually, I think it's quite interesting because for you, you said that after you stumbled upon inner work and started the journey, right, you actually feel happier. I'm very curious to know, like, what is the, like, for Lishan, right, what is your kind of predominant emotion, if you have any, or before and after you started your inner work journey?
Good question. I think before I was okay, like I'm happy also. Uh but I was very I felt like I lived in a fog. Yeah, so the emotions, like I feel things, but I feel like I live in a fog. So there's this fogginess around me, and I couldn't really make sense of what was happening, be it in social settings or in my life and things like that. So I think my friends before that, usually they describe me as very blur. I still believe I'm still quite blur to some extent even now, but a bit less blur. So back then was quite blurry. So it's like I lived in a fog, right? And I just like very determined and just do things in a very determined way to get things done. Yeah. And I was quite connected to the emotions like gratefulness. The gratitude was already there, the joy, the love. But what was kind of missing was my access to sadness. I couldn't really feel sad. I felt disappointed sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, but some of the like more negative emotions, even though they were there, but I was disconnected from it. Mm. So after this inner work journey, I went through a period that I was angry, like I was very angry. So there's a lot of anger, and this need to kind of exert my voice or my say in things, and so that came out a lot as anger initially. And when people didn't understand what I was trying to express from inside, and then I felt very misunderstood and I was angry. Then after this angry phase, it transitioned into like a more, I feel like now is in a more like the kindness came back, the more open type of state. There is still some areas that I feel uncomfortable about, like, or that still gets me like, oh, like, yeah. But in terms of the journey and how I've been feeling in life is that I feel like I feel the highs and the lows more. So my life, instead of being like, on a flat line with like mild ups and downs, it became there's bigger ups and downs. Yet it became a lot more colorful also. More ups and downs does not mean that you like go crazy and things like that. No, it's more like you can experience and you can ride with the ups and downs with yourself more easily, instead of telling yourself, oh, I cannot be too happy, or I cannot be too sad, I cannot be too angry, I cannot be too this, cannot be too that. So there's a lot of freeing of these boundaries.
I suppose in a way it's like the more open you are to being yourself, right, the more you kind of feel like a child again. So like a kid, he or she always expresses whatever they are feeling at the moment, right? So if they're very happy, they will laugh like a lot and for very long. And if they are sad, they'll just keep crying and crying. So I think, but as adults, like as we try to grow up, we try to be like, we try to moderate ourselves to be socially acceptable. And I guess that's why we try not to like, even if we think it's very funny, right, we won't like laugh like super crazily. We'll like try to like giggle politely, or like, you know, that kind of thing. Or like if you're sad, we wouldn't really like express it, even sometimes even to our friends, right, and family. So I think we always like taper our emotions as we grow up. So I think part of the inner work journey is really about tapping back into ourselves. Like, what are we truly feeling, and is it possible to express it not overwhelmingly to other people, but at least even to ourselves? Like, admit to yourself that you are really happy, so you deserve to express it to yourself.
Mm,
I think.
mm, mm, mm.
Actually, the
Yeah.
reason why I asked this question was because personally for me, I controversially, right, I actually feel like sadder after doing this inner work journey lah, because I think I was always a happy kid. Whether it's an authentic happiness, I'm not sure. But I think I used to always like look on the positive side, like very bright outlook and everything. And I suppose I think after getting access to like my sadness or disappointment or like shame, then it became a bit darker lah, I would say. So so like my partner currently, my boyfriend, he would say something like, oh, like you like why do you seem like a bit sadder like nowadays, kind of thing. So I mean, I see it to be like a little bit of a side effect lah for me, like exploring a bit of the inner world kind of thing. But I think it's not really a bad thing, right? Because you shouldn't always be feeling like um always happy. I think sometimes you let like the um negative emotion kind of spur you to do something, to make a change. And I think that's why there's a lot of like mini transformations happening, because when you know that you're feeling something about the situation, you can then make a change about it. But if you just hide it and cover it up, then you will not be able to make a change, or you will tell yourself that it's okay, or like you watch TV to like numb it away. So I think I asked you because I think there's everybody faces a different like reaction when on the same journey. Wonder what Audrey thinks.
Yeah, I think Kai-Ning raised a very, very good point. So I think like before I know about all this emotion, I feel that to be emotional is quite bad. And people will judge me for my emotions. Oh, why are you sad? Why are you angry? Then slowly over time, right? I mean, like if you think about it, actually all this is like suppression of emotion, which actually isn't really good. Because naturally, right, if you the reaction says that, oh, you are sad, then just feel sad. So in a way, you are able to let go. Because so far, like what I've seen in myself and other people is that the more we suppress, right, the more it will come out later. And the purpose of emotions, at least to me right now, is kind of like giving me a clue on like what do I need to work on? What is causing an emotion? So instead of judging the emotion as it's bad or it's good, I must be positive, I must be negative. It just I kind of like hold my judgment on all this emotion and just feel, try to feel. Yeah. Because I guess like in a way there's no positive or negative. It's just a construct that we are taught since young. And when we are younger, when we cry, then our parents will just come and whack us. So that further suppress the emotions.
And I suppose like people are generally uncomfortable with like other people's sadness or anger, right? So we always try to like steer others away. I'm actually very guilty of that as well. So for me, like I'm quite like conflict avoidant, and I still am. And also I'm also like, I mean, I think I'm comfortable with people's sadness, maybe because I've like kind of touched I have like reconciled that in myself. But I'm actually not comfortable with people's anger, maybe also because I have not resolved the anger thing in myself as well. So when people get angry or like they start to raise some conflict, right, then I'll get really like afraid, and then I'll try to like crack a joke or like try to steer the conversation away to something more neutral, like a neutral posture. So I think it stemmed from when I was young as well, because I think like for example, if my parents had some disagreement, then I'll feel very, very, like very, very uncomfortable, then I will try to like say some funny thing. So I guess that also contributed to my so-called sunny nature. Then my friends will call me like the happy pill. So like when they're sad, they come to me. When they feel frustrated, they come to me because they believe that I can make them feel better. And I think it has always been that case when I was young. Like I always help people to feel better. And maybe that's why I adopted this like sunny disposition for myself as well. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
So
interesting. Yeah, like how we talk about, the inner work journey, and then the discovery of the emotions, and the discovery of which type of emotions you're comfortable with, which ones you are still like uncomfortable with, or make you afraid, or make you want to avoid it.
Yeah. So Lishan, what emotion are you the most uncomfortable with?
I feel the one I'm currently still very uncomfortable with is blame. Is that an emotion? Yeah, maybe it's like when there is blame and anger, hatred, vengeance type of emotions, and especially especially if I feel personally involved, like if I feel like I have put in the time, the effort to try and help someone or try to be there for someone, and then what happens, is that I get attacked. I feel like I get attacked in return with anger, with blame, with a hatred and vengeance, and usually with a strength that is not commensurate to the situation. Then I get very uncomfortable, even though part of me, I know that it's not my issue, and because that person has perhaps had a history or a past or things that makes them the way they are. But there's a part of me that still gets quite hit and affected by it. So I think of emotion I'm still uncomfortable with.
Then what about Audrey? What is your
Audrey.
Yeah. So wherever people are angry, I don't really know how to handle anger. So usually same as Ning, I will just avoid the conflict and just try to make things lighter. Yeah. But I also recognize that because of this inability to be in touch, or at least to be in touch with the anger. Okay, so when people get angry, I got scared. Yeah. Then in a way, right, I don't usually get angry. So I suspect my anger is also suppressed. Yeah. So when people do things wrong or break my boundaries, I don't get angry. So I guess it kind of reflected in the external world that I cannot really deal with anger. Yeah. Then I suspect that apart from just like my personal experiences, might be also due to like this judgment of anger, because it's kind of weird to see, I mean, like to go in public area, you see people getting angry for no reason. So in a way, I'm not very equipped to deal with anger. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like when you talk about people showing anger in public, right? I always ask myself what I would do, right? If I see like, let's say someone like attacking another person or like bullying someone on the streets, right? Because I feel very strongly for these kind of like things, and I don't want to see another person get hurt. Then I ask myself like, but then my own fear of that anger is stopping me from doing the right thing. Then I think like, in order to help someone you see on the street, if let's say they are being like attacked by an angry person, the power you have within needs to be very strong in order to like step in and say the right thing and do the right thing, rather than just like cower in fear lah. So I think that's something very important to get over, which I also feel like I haven't really like mastered as well. And I really relate to what Audrey was saying about I think anger, if you don't understand your own anger or like the depth of your own anger, you won't know how to understand other people's anger, because that the concept is foreign to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I can respond for the anger part. So for anger, in the past, when people are very angry, I also get very afraid. and I cower down or I try to give in. And I feel like now increasingly when people are angry, I'm more able to step aside and just let them be angry and to feel their rage, but I know like it's not mine. That as in it's not my rage or my anger. It doesn't happen all the time, but increasingly is able to do so. Mm. Yeah, and I used to think that sadness was something very bad, so I always try to hide whenever I'm sad. But when I had the chance to really go into the sadness and to express that sadness and feel that sadness, there was such a relief after that, like to be able to be sad, like to be allowed to be sad and to let the sadness come and let the sadness go. So that was really, to me, it's very amazing to be able to be sad and to have that space or to know that I can give myself the permission to be sad. I might not need to be sad and crying for everybody, but I can take time out to be sad and it's okay. Mm. Yeah.
Actually, I have a curious question, right? So I think on the flip side of what you have been suppressing, do you have any emotions that you feel that you are over expressing? Like maybe over expressing as in like maybe you are dwelling a lot on it. Not it may be something even the so-called positive emotions or it could be the negative emotions like dwelling like so for example I read somewhere before that it talked about like some people really like to feel the sadness because ironically the sadness gives them joy or like it fills the void. If they are no longer sad, then they don't know who they are anymore because it becomes part of their identity. And in that case, I feel that that might be an overexpression or an overindulgence in a particular emotion that may not necessarily be healthy to drive or move things forward. So I was wondering, like, do y'all have any kind of like the kind of emotion that you feel, like I'm like kind of overindulging in?
I feel I have one. I tend to overindulge in worry. So that means I worry about the future. I worry about the current situation. I worry that we cannot be good enough. So basically worrying that things will not go well and things like that. So I feel like this worry sometimes it becomes too big, and I can feel like it has an impact on the people around me. Like I can feel them getting a bit tense or a bit like affected by my own worry. And when I realize that I it's like a signal to me or sign to me to manage this worry. If not, it would keep on affecting the people around me. And it becomes a bit oppressive to them. So imagine you get this cloud of worry that keeps surrounding you from the other person. It doesn't feel very nice to be the receiving party of this worry. And that's something that I feel like I'm becoming more aware of and something to work on. How
What
about you? Audrey and Ning.
Maybe Audrey can go first.
I think I overindulge in enthusiasm and excitement. Yeah, which is a form of like positive feeling. Because how do I say it? Because I think like I've been through like this kind of like two existential angst. So usually for this kind of existential crisis, right, I feel very dead inside. And how do I know whether something is working or something is not working? I kind of gauge it by all this positive emotion, this feeling of like happiness, enthusiasm, excitement. So somehow I feel that I overindulge in all this positive feeling. In a way, how do I really say it? Let me think. Oh yeah. So in a way, there sometimes right, I might try to like feel more happier, like trying to seek for more exciting activities to do in order to avoid a sense of emptiness or a state of like nothingness. Yeah. Because I guess based on my personality, I can't really sit still and do nothing. So it's kind of like there's always something up on my plate, something for me to do and engage in. Yeah.
I think I really relate to what Audrey says. I think I guess we're quite similar in the sense that in our enthusiasm lah, and like our wanting to juggle many things at the same time. I think in order to feel like we are being fulfilled, we are fulfilling ourselves in a way. Yeah, I think in addition to that, to the seeking excitement, I think for me it's also a little bit about like trying to portray positivity. I think that's also one of the things that could be an overindulgence as well. I think it's actually in a behind that feeling or behind that portrayal of a feeling is really trying to make other people happy, I think. So like because I think I'm quite sensitive to other people's emotions, and so when I sense that something is like not right, or when they feel something, that I will try to make to be like the contrarian to their like negative emotion. So I'll try to bring up the vibe of the team, or like, yeah, but I think hidden behind it is actually just like my fear that people will be unhappy, or like it's kind of like a people pleasing kind of thing. And actually it stems from fear, right? Because I'm afraid that they will not be happy. I'm afraid that they will not like me after that. So I think that yeah, so it's kind of an overindulgence in like positivity, and I guess it has worked for me so far, because people are drawn to me for the optimism, and then I kind of like wanted to keep that consistent to that as well. Yeah, so something to think about.
So when you are negative, how do you cope with this sense of negativity or emotions that isn't too positive?
So actually, I mean, it's very interesting. So I realized like I'm like an onion. I have like, I mean, everybody's an onion, right? So I realized that it's portrayed very clearly in, because my form of expression is writing and talking. Like I when I feel emotions, I will write a lot, or I will talk less, but I'll write a lot. So what happened is like I actually have like so I have a public Instagram. I have like an Instagram where I kind of showcase, like, I mean, not showcase, but like just do like the normal like mainstream stuff. So that I'll post like my outings and whatever. Then I do have like a private Instagram where I have like a few of my close friends follow me, and you guys are on it as well. So I will write like a bit like more emo things, or like more like reflective things on that. But I actually also have like another Instagram. I have another one which only I have access to, and I write all my dreams. Like, I mean, like the dreams that when I sleep, that kind of dreams there. Or I write like something that is like so personal that I can't even like say to anyone. And I suppose I use writing to help me moderate my emotions. So when I feel like very negative, then you go to like my super private account. Then if I feel like kind of socially acceptable, then I'll put it into like the the friend account. Then when I feel like actually it's something that is useful for wide audience to know, then I'll put it into the public account where like 1,000 followers can see and maybe potentially gain something from it. Yeah, so I realized that then the question to me is that am I like hiding like different parts of myself or not? Or like, then I realized that yeah, because anything that's a bit more negative, I feel like I shouldn't be expressing it, and that's the reason why I have so many different kind of layers. The only person I truly express this kind of like sadness to is actually my partner, my boyfriend. So he kind of feels like I'm disproportionately like sad to him. He's like, hey, why you like when you're talking to your friends, you look so happy. But then when you talk to me, then you're like so sad. Then I say, actually, it's really because I trust you and I know that you will not judge me. So but that poor thing, because he has to resolve all the problems, or like he has 50% of the time he'll talk to like the sad timing. So yeah, but I suppose it's also because of how much I withhold or suppress in my daily life, such that it all comes out to one person, or it all comes out when I'm alone. Yeah, so that's my experience. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. So there's this different layers that you're able and feel comfortable to share. Like the positive part is the part that you feel very comfortable to share, but the maybe the slight emo as the ones that goes to the friends, and then the truly deep
Yeah.
feelings, that's when it's very, very private for you.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wonder whether you guys have the same like experience.
I think about it a bit. Audrey, you want to go?
So for me, yeah, similar experience. It depends on safety. How safe do I feel with that person? Yeah. So how I cope with negativity is usually I try to write down first, reflection. Yeah, just reflect by myself. But if I feel that I cannot cope with the emotions, and I will try to sing some song, try to cry, try to feel the anger try to feel the emotions through the songs. Yeah. So I think that one is working quite well to some extent. And if I really need more help, I will talk to a coach. Yeah. Because I feel that they are trained to kind of like listen to my talking without really judging me. Yeah. Compared to friends, right? Because I realized that some friends, they cannot really resonate. And because like sometimes it's quite obvious who is judging you and who isn't judging you. So, and most people, they are not empathetic and they are not trained to handle emotions anyway. So I feel that as a friend, I should just uh, kind of like, I feel safer if I keep it to myself or keep it with like talk to a coach. Yeah, I feel that it's more like practical and useful rather than telling a friend that might judge me. Yeah. So this is how I deal with emotions.
But then the thing is that a coach will not always be here for you, right? So like how do you do like emotional regulation on a more frequent basis?
More frequent basis, it's just uh I will do other activities like sing songs, go hiking, walk in the nature. I feel that walking in nature is pretty relaxing and healing. Like it's just I'm just very present to the environment. So that kind of like bring me on a give me a different perspective. So instead of like engulfing in negativity, so I kind of like step out of it for a while, like into the nature. So afterwards, then step at it again. I feel that my perspective broadened and I stop engulfing in negativity. Yeah. So usually the method that work very well is a combination of methods like reflection, talking with people, or talking to my sister. Yeah, talking with my sister. She's like a very, very good friend. I mean, like she's my sister. She's also a very good friend. She just gave me the space to talk about it. Yeah. Plus walking in nature. Yeah. So these three methods works very well.
Then what about Lishan?
Yeah. Thanks, Audrey, for sharing that. It's very nice. Yeah, that there's this like kind of getting a different perspective, be it by writing, by talking to your sister, by going to the nature, and then coming back to the issue. Mm. Yeah. So for me, I guess it depends how much in terms of negative or difficult emotions, how much there is. Usually I would take some time out to listen to the emotions. Yeah. So I might listen by writing, or maybe I go for a walk, and as I walk, I hear myself and I get a sense of what I'm feeling. Um, I talk to people sometimes to just check in with them, and because like time to time I know that what I'm telling myself inside is not exactly true, but the voice is loud. So I get an external voice. Maybe I ask them. So like one of the things that used to pop up quite a lot previously was that I am useless, so I'm not useful as a person. And then it feels like a dark cloud that I am useless, like 110% useless, that kind of feeling. And part of me knows that it's not true, but it also knows that this emotion is there. So I asked, like maybe I ask my family or ask my friends, so do you think I'm really useless? And then they would give me reflection of what they perceive or what they feel, and that helps to widen my perspective also. And that gives me some strength to go and maybe listen into that emotion and give that emotion the space to express itself without me getting caught up in it totally. And then it comes and then it goes. So it's very, so that helps.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that when you talk about like that phrase that you say that, oh, like the feeling that of being useless, I think it's actually quite like a intense statement to make, right? So maybe you could share with like our listeners what made you have that kind of like thought in the first place, and also how do you realize it?
Yeah. I feel like that feeling of I am useless has been there since very young. So when I try to do things as a kid and then I fail, and then I feel like I'm not strong enough or I'm not useful enough to be able to help or to be able to do what I need to do. And then it became it became expanded in a way when I was in a period of my life where I was interacting with a lot of people who have a tendency to put others down, so that it kind of brings up their own esteem, and then by putting others down, and in that time I had a lot of you're not good enough and things like that in the space, and that kind of grew this seed, like the seed of I'm useless to becoming quite big. And what was, I feel like it was kind of a journey to know about this part of me, which was kind of hidden inside, right? But because in that environment, it had the chance to grow until it was very big. And that's when I had a chance to really look at it and experience how this I am useless feels. Yeah, and it was like, when the I'm useless feeling becomes very big, the whole person, like my whole person, will have no energy to do anything. And then a part of me is like an observer of myself. So I'm observing that how my energy rises and falls when I'm useless comes into play. Yeah, and I'm like, oh wow, this I'm useless is really powerful. So the observer part of me is just observing these kind of things. And the I'm useless is like I'm useless, I'm useless. And then when I listen to it, I realize it's a repetitive voice. It doesn't look at reason, or this part of me doesn't look at reason, it doesn't look at the situation. So maybe in my life, there are times I've been useless, definitely. There are times that I have also provided value. So I notice how this part of me just negates and blankets out everything that was ever good, and then just insists on the I'm useless. So I felt like it was a voice that just needed to be heard at that point in time. Yeah, and knowing this and getting that perspective was very helpful. Then I could kind of hold that space for myself. Yeah, so I guess initially I was going a lot with like coaching and all that. Then it came to a stage where I felt like I needed to learn how to hold my own space, and how to let the little different voices in me be heard, and yet I am not getting caught up in the identity that I am this voice. Like maybe I am not identified by I am useless as a voice. So that's not my identity, but it's just a part of me, and to let it express.
I think Lishan brings out a very good point, like in terms of identifying with the voice, because like sometimes it's not we might not be aware of all the small little thoughts in our mind, and somehow, right, with the seed of that thought, then coupled with experiences from other people or relationship with other people, that further like exacerbate certain traits and quality in us, then sometimes, right, like a small little negative emotion might end up in a negative spiral. Then it just lead to like, oh, thought A to thought B, more and more negative, just keep spiraling. It's really about picking up all these clues to and not identify with them. It's more of like Yeah, being more conscious of all these thoughts. So just wondering, right? Like, is there, uh, like, how do you eventually pick up the thoughts? Because I suspect like many listeners will be interested in this kind of questions. Because like, what if I'm aware? How do I really pick up all these thoughts? How can I be more aware and more in tune with my emotions and thoughts?
So for myself, I usually pick it up when I find my my actual life being affected. So for example, I'm doing something and then I realize that I no longer have the motivation to do something. Or I don't feel like doing it, even though I know I need to do it, but I'm like, I don't want to do it. So my actual actions start getting affected, and I'm no longer in this flow of doing things and making things happen, and I kind of stop, or I don't feel like carrying on. And that to me is a clue that something is going on inside. And then I would start to kind of take a bit of time to listen to what's going on inside me. What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm thinking? What is it that wants to say or to express and to say something about the situation. So so in these moments when I've taken the time out to listen to myself, it's been very helpful. Like either the voice gets heard and then it passes and stops stopping me, or I realize that, oh, maybe I've been assuming something and I'm not headed in a direction that is helpful. And then that helps me to reevaluate and to switch direction from there. So a lot of times it's like a checkpoint, right? But this checkpoint kind of gives a lot of noise, makes itself known in a way that is not comfortable, like not feeling like doing anything, or suddenly my energy is very low and it just like don't feel like doing anything, just sit there. I can just sit there for very long. Then I'm like, why am I sitting here? Yeah, so I start asking myself things like that. Mm. Or sometimes I get like physical symptoms. I get a very bad tummy ache or things like that. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I keep feeling a tummy ache. So what's that about? Yeah, so it's quite fun. It's like a discovery journey.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe Audrey and Kani, how do you pick up, or become aware of the emotions?
Yeah. Similar to Lishan, I also pick it up based on physical symptoms, like what's happening in my body, as well as like physical reality, what's happening outside of me. Yeah. So I also often spend quite a lot of alone time by myself to just be with myself and like meditate. So all these thoughts, right, usually will surface during meditation when it's quiet. Yeah. So I also understand that for some people, it might not be through meditation. It might be through uh nighttime before they sleep. There are all these thoughts that come to their mind. So actually I heard of quite a number of friends, they mentioned that they have insomnia. So I asked them, how come like you have insomnia and stuff? What's keeping you awake? So apart from like devices, electronics like phone, laptop, another common things that I see among friends is actually like before they sleep, they have a lot of thoughts. All these thoughts resulted in them unable to sleep. Yeah. So it seems to me that it might be very common for people to have like insomnia nowadays due to all this stress and thoughts that like consistent thoughts that they are having. Yeah.
Actually, I have a solution. I mean something that worked for me lah. Since young about the insomnia thing. So when I was younger, I had more trouble sleeping than now. Ironically, considering that now we have a lot more like troubles as like adults, right? So I figured out this method when I was like really young. I don't know why. Like it was just like maybe like 10 years old. So I would lie in my bed, right, and then because all these thoughts will come to you, and some of the thoughts are like positive things, like maybe things that make you happy. Some of them are like things that like annoy you or frustrate you. So I actually imagine, because I'm a very quite visual or like imaginative person. So I imagine like my brain. I imagine my brain against this like white backdrop. So like it's like a white room, and then my brain is just there. And then all these little thoughts and people are like walking on it, like they are on top of my brain. So then I think that, okay, so to clear my brain, like literally clearing it, right, I need to get rid of all these things and make my brain shiny again. So it's like, it look like dusty one. It's like dusty with a lot of like clutter stuff on it. So all these bad things, like people who are like plaguing me in my mind, right, I will like use there will be this big hand, like the hand of God, like a big hand. Then you like flick the people away. So you just like flick, like all this like bad stuff will be flicked away. Then all the good stuff, right, I want to keep. I don't want to forget them, right? So I will gather them like gently, and then I will open this little door on my brain, like on the brain. I open a door, then I put them inside, then I close the door. So it's like kind of like keep them in my memory in a way, but don't like surface on the surface lah. Like keep it inside. Then after that, there will be the big hand will take a cloth and then will wipe the whole brain until it's shiny. So like you just wipe the dust away until the whole thing becomes like shiny. Then it really works because after that, like my brain has like zero thoughts. Like it literally cleared itself through this like process. And then I can sleep. So, I always sleep like within like 1 minute, most of the time. Like maybe 99% of the time in my life, I sleep within like 1 minute. And yeah, so everybody's like super surprised. I can sleep anywhere. Maybe it'll be helpful for your friends, Audrey. You can tell them this method.
Wow. Yeah, it's very, very useful because basically you are consciously trying to do clearing so that you don't let the negative thoughts affect you. I think it's a very good bedtime habit. Yeah.
It provides a lot of satisfaction also to flick people away, like those bad people, you flick them. Yeah, it's like then they cannot, because like you can control it, right? So you like really then you see them fly away. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Very
I think it's
useful
like
game.
yeah. And it's like it takes like about 1 minute, and I think like even like kids can do it, because like when I did it when I was young, I didn't realize it was like a clearing process. It's just like my little kid brain invented it. Yeah, and it just worked. So
So interesting. Yeah. And it feels like, when things come at you, you're very like helpless, right? You just take it on. So they are all like walking all over your brain.
yeah.
And then now you choose that, okay, I am done with this guy, and like enough of bothering me, and then you flick him off. And yeah, that's so fun. In a way, it's kind of I feel like there's a process of kind of getting back your own personal power, and
taking back
sorting through the
control.
thoughts. Yeah, like what do you want, and what do you choose to not let them keep bothering you anymore. You just get them off, and then you wipe your brain clean and shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, very creative.
And how about Li Xuan, as a coach, right? Do you have any simple exercises that you can recommend people to do like daily as a habit to flick away their negative thoughts?
Yeah, so one thing I do that if I cannot sleep is that I would relax the body. So I intentionally pay attention to different part of body. So I relax from the feet, then slowly go up, maybe the ankles, and then the leg, and then the knee. So bit by bit, I relax this part. And time to time, I'll feel a tension inside. Because sometimes, you have certain tensions, and then it's there. And if there's a tension there, I relax the space around the tension, and then let the tension just, maybe it needs some time to kind of slowly relax. So let it take its own pace without trying to force it to relax very quickly, if it's not ready yet. And yeah, and usually I get, like, before I reach my head, then I'm asleep already. So I'm gone. Yeah, that's one. Another thing I do, I think that I also did as a kid was I'll drop into a empty space. So before I sleep, right, and I just imagine my whole person just drops into an empty space, and I just rest there. So as a result, I could sleep very fast. I also sleep within 1 minute, kind of thing. And even if people snore, right, like because they're outside of this empty space, I cannot hear them. I just rest in this space, in this empty space, and unaffected by external, and just like really, it's like a cocoon kind of thing, right? And just drop in and sleep there. Yeah, so I felt like, I somehow did that for many years. But thanks for bringing this up. I didn't realize I was doing it. And now it just happens automatically.
seems like as kids,
yeah.
we have like these kind of coping mechanisms, like, right, like it's like you created a safe space for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And then I could set things like, okay, I want to wake up at what time. So at a certain time, my body will just start bringing me out of this space, and then I can wake up.
Pretty cool. Audrey, do you have any like techniques to sleep?
Usually I don't have issue sleeping, but I have difficulty getting on my bed to sleep. As in like trying to fall asleep. Yeah, because I think like due to the devices, like I think yeah, due to all this electronics, right, I feel like it's very difficult to kill the distractions to go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah. So what I try to do is, so usually I have a habit of writing before I go to sleep, like doing some reflection. So when I'm on my bed, I'll go and read. So I just read my Kindle. Yeah. So that helps in sleeping. Not because the book is boring. It's more of like the habit of like setting up a routine to sleep. Yeah.
Oh, like a routine to sleep.
Yeah. Sleep routine.
Because maybe like you from your device, from your phone to your bed, the step is very big. But then the Kindle is like an intermediary step. So it becomes like a 2 small steps rather than 1 big step.
Yeah.